Today, class, we're going to be reading Leave Me Alone by Vera Bristol. This book is a 2017 Caldecott winner. Leave me alone. Once there was an old woman. She lived in a small village, in a small house, with a very big family. Winter was coming. That meant she had some very important knitting to do, but it wasn't getting done. Why do you guys think no knitting was getting done?
Maybe because of her grandchildren.
That's a good answer. Her grandchildren were very curious about her knitting. Were you supposed to hit the ball with a stick? Could you eat it? Could you make your brother eat it? Why did the ball get smaller and smaller as you chased it? The old woman was at the end of her rope. So she made her bed as neatly as she could. She swept the floorboards until they're more or less shown. She drank tea from her samovar. She packed up her things in a big sack, and as she left, she shouted back. What do y'all think she shouted?
Maybe I'm leaving?
Let's find out. Leave me alone. The old woman walked through the deep, dark forest. She made a fire so that she could see what she was doing. Then she sat down and began to knit. The bear family was very curious about the light from her fire and about what she might taste like. Leave me alone, the old woman shouted, but they didn't listen because bears don't speak English. So she packed up her sack and left. The old woman climbed up the mountainside. It was cold, so she found a small sheltered place. Then she sat down and began to knit. The mountain goats were excited to have a visitor, especially one that brought snacks. Leave me alone, the old woman shouted, but the goats were too busy fighting over the red ones, which they all agreed were the best. So she picked up her sack and left. The old woman climbed higher and higher up the mountain. She reached the top and climbed onto the moon. She found a rock that was shaped like a chair. She sat down and began to knit. The little green moon men had never seen a woman before, old or otherwise. They examined her with handheld scanners that went beep boop, beep boop, beep boop. Leave me alone, the old woman shouted, but the little green moon men couldn't hear her because they didn't have any ears. So she picked up her sack and left through the wormhole. The void on the other side of the wormhole was very dark and very, very quiet. She was absolutely, completely, utterly alone. It was perfect. Why do you guys think it's perfect for her?
Because it was quiet and the grandchildren aren't messing with her yarn.
It's a good answer. Soon she had no more yarn and 30 little sweaters, and she was alone. So she put the 30 sweaters into her big sack. She swept the void until it was nice, matte black. She had a cup of tea from her samovar. Then she picked up the sack and left through another wormhole. Where do y'all think she's heading to?
Maybe back home?
Let's find out. When she came out the other side, everything was right where she'd left it. And she didn't say a word. The end. Okay, guys, so next we're gonna split into groups, and each group is gonna roll a dice depending on the number 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, or 6. Then you will be retelling a part of the story. If you roll 1, you're gonna give a summary of the story, what the story is mostly about. If you roll a number 2, you're gonna tell the main characters. If you roll a number 3, you're gonna tell about the setting where the story takes place. If you roll a number 4, what happened at the beginning of the story. If you roll a number 5, what happened in the middle of the story. And if you roll a number 6, what happens at the end of the story. So guys, I'm gonna split y'all up and we're gonna get to retelling the story.